Hi guys, this is our Hoteliers. We are hoteliers from Indonesia, and as you can see or find in Instagram at Overheard Hoteliers, we always share any kind of experiences from the hoteliers, mostly from Indonesia. Well, there are so many hotels in Indonesia, as we know, and there are so many cities in Indonesia because it's a pretty big island. Not pretty big, but yeah, it's big. Indonesia is very big island that consists of so many small islands and cities. Now we're gonna talk about the horror stories happen in the hotel. I'm sure not all of the people trust or believe in the ghostly stories. Yeah, it's not so easy to believe something that you maybe cannot see, you cannot touch, you cannot even feel, but in some other way, it does exist. How do you think? If it does exist or no? Well, I return it to your opinion and your belief. But anyway, we got so many horror stories in our Instagram account. You can also send yours to our DM if you want. We will gladly accept it. We will gladly post it in our account, whether you want us to mention you or no. Well, now to start our podcast, we would like to tell about a horror story in the hotel in Yogyakarta. Yogyakarta itself is a city in Indonesia which famous for its culture and education. If you go to Yogyakarta, you can find so many kind of arts and cultural products, or even the building are so artistic. You can find the classic castle, temples, and so many objects in Yogyakarta that has cultural and then historical value. Now, Yogyakarta itself is located in the heart of Java Island. And Yogyakarta is so rich with ancient culture, as I mentioned before, and also even mystical thing and myths, or whatever you name it, superstitions, like that, more or less. Now, if you sneak peek, and if there's any of you who can speak in Indonesian or you can read Indonesian stories, you can sneak peek to our Instagram at Overheard Hoteliers. There are various horror stories which sent by our fellow hoteliers in Yogyakarta. So now let's start from the lowest level of horror. But wait. Before we start, I need to say some disclaimer that the story is based on true experiences from the sender of the story, which is the hotelier himself or the hotel guest, whoever experiences a horror story or experience when they stay in a hotel in Yogyakarta. And once again, we don't refer to only one hotel in Yogyakarta, but we said it's hotels in Yogyakarta. So we didn't mention only one. You only need to guess which hotel, because actually there are so many hotels in Yogyakarta. So now, let's get started. So one day, there's a hoteliers from Jakarta who went to Jogja for a conference. Well, it's normal, right? If you go or travel outside the city where you work to have a conference there. And so as him, he went to Yogyakarta for a conference and he stayed in a hotel in Yogyakarta. Well, the hotel looks so normal, looks awesome. The room is so comfortable to sleep and take a rest. And he has one roommate with him. So actually it looks safe, comfortable, or anything you name it. He had no bad feeling or anything at all since he arrived at that hotel until the night come. When the night come, he heard someone's knocking on his door. He listened, but there's no sign or sound from a bellboys or housekeeping who usually will say like, room service or housekeeping? Can you open the door or something like that? But he heard nothing. There's no other sound, just knocking on his door and nothing, and the rest is just silence. So he kept listening, but there's no sign, no sound. He decided to peek from the peeping hole at the door, and there's no one outside his door. Well, actually, maybe it's someone else's, right? Like a guest to other room, right? If we want to be positive, we can think like that. Like maybe there's someone else's doors been knocking by someone or been knocking by other guests. That's the positive thing that we can, the best thing that we can think during that kind of time, right? So he said to his roommate, and they both start to be scared. But why scared if you even find nothing, right? So they try to sleep, but unfortunately, in the middle of the night, like around 12 midnight, they both heard another knocking on their door. And this time, they just want to prove. They want to know what's there outside the door. They want to know what's knocking or who is knocking or which room has the guest. So they directly open the door and go out, and they found no one. It's just an empty corridor with almost dark lighting. So no one outside the door. What you gonna do if you are in that kind of position? What they do is they move back to their room, lock the door, and just stay there until the morning comes. And okay, I don't know what was that, but it was pretty scary. So better not going out. Let's just stay here. And that's how they end up that night. Inside the room, only two of them, and they stay awake all the night to observe what probably happened to them that night. So that's the first story. For a warming up, how do you think? It's pretty scary or not? Like, I mean, if this kind of thing happened to me, I still can try to be positive thinking. I still can try to think that it was someone that we didn't really see. Maybe when we opened the door, that someone already entered other guest room. Probably, right? Anyway, no one know what actually happened. So let's move on to the second story. The second story comes from a guest. This poor girl have to experience a horror experience in a hotel in Yogyakarta when she went there for a short holiday during weekend. Well, actually, she stayed in a pretty luxurious hotel in Yogyakarta where you can have so many activities there. She stayed there for a couple nights, and the first night went well. She explored Yogyakarta, have fun, eat good foods, stay in a comfy and fabulous room, and so many perfect things to spend the weekend until the second night came and she has to experience this thing. Well, that night she was stay overnight because she wasn't sleepy, so she just stay overnight watching TV and so on. And suddenly she heard a humming outside her window. It's already late night, but if you are hoteliers, you will know that actually hoteliers work almost 24 hours, right? And that time, she also think like, maybe it's the hotel staff. Maybe it's the female staff that not back home yet. Yeah, sometimes we have night shift, right? So she tried to be positive. She don't think it's something strange, but the humming become louder and louder, and she just want to make sure who is humming at the garden in the middle of the night, and it sounds so loud like that. Like if it's staff, if it's the hotel staff, they will consider not to annoy the guests, right? They will try to be as calm as possible in order to maintain the guest's comfort. You agree, right? It's like that. So she decided to open her window curtain and guess what she saw that time. Yep, she saw there's a lady, but actually she can only saw her back. She cannot see the face. She saw a lady in a white old dress with a long dark hair, and she's combing her hair in the middle of the night at the garden and humming like that. So she was say in her mind, okay, this is not correct. I'm sure that's not a person. So I better close the window curtain and back to the bed with my mom or friend or anyone who is with me right now because it's so scary, right? Like who gonna humming in the middle of the night in the garden like that with that kind of clothes? Seriously? At night? No, I don't think so. So how do you think? Do you think it's a ghost or it's just someone who wanna do prank or it's other guests? Who is the most possible person to humming at the garden with a comb and combing the hair? Okay. It's pretty scary for me. And I think I will also do the same. Like either I will decide to go out or I will stay under my blanket for the rest of the night with whoever I stay there with, right? Now, let's move to the next story. I think the next story is not so scary, but if you work at the kitchen department or if you are a kitchen crew, you can relate it because this story happened to a kitchen crew. As you know, if we have so many guests stay at the hotels or when we have high occupancy, usually the kitchen will be busy, right? They will work like literally from the dawn until after midnight to cook, prepare the food for the next day, prepare the pastry, prepare everything, clean everything. Kitchen crew works are so hard, I think, because they should need extra energy to work like that from the dawn until the middle of the night, or maybe more than that, right? That time, this kitchen crew is working overnight because he has an event in the next morning. So he have to stay there late and not only for prepare but also to do a little cleaning. When he prepare the food for the next morning event, I will let you know a little about the layout. So there's the kitchen table and next to the kitchen table, there's the window of the kitchen and the window is heading to a garden. So there's the kitchen and outside the kitchen there's the garden. And the kitchen table is exactly next to the window, more or less like that. When he did the preparation, he already think like, I think there's something outside, but I don't really know what was that. I just saw like, at first it was like a white shadow. And I kept staring on that. And I just thinking why the white shadow has a strange movement, like up and down, but floating. I cannot really explain, but it's like that, up and down, but floating. So it's not really a jump, but you floating with a movement like that. Can you imagine? A white shadow moving up and down, but floating, so not really jump. And he saw it like, is it just lighting? Or what was that? I don't really know. So I kept doing what I have to do. I cut the veggies, I cut the ingredients, I prepare everything for the next day event. But then when I look again outside the window, that white shadow looks like it comes closer, like it approached me, he said. So he was thinking like, no, I think it's not a normal white shadow, but what was that? So he tried to ignore and just continue to cut all the veggies and continue to prepare the foods as well. And this time is the worst ever. And for me, maybe it's a nightmare. Like, he looked outside the window and he saw that white shadow is exactly in front of him, at the window in front of him, so close, even closer than before. And he saw the face, and he know now exactly what was that. It was the famous Indonesian ghost that you can call pocong. You can try to Google it, pocong. How is it looks like? Maybe for some of you it looks funny, but actually, for Indonesian it's pretty scary to see pocong. So he decided to call the security and ask him to accompany him until his task finished, and then he back home. My goodness, what you gonna do if you have to stay alone in your office? Either it's kitchen or maybe front office. Yeah, there's also the night manager, right? At the front office. What you gonna do if you experience something like that? You have to stay alone in your office and there's something like that happen to you. What you gonna do? If it's me, I will call the security too. Good idea. So now this is the last but not least story that come from front office department. Well, actually it's not really the front office crew that experienced this, but it's related to the front office team. There are so many members of front office, right? From the reception, the night manager, the night crew, and then supervisor, manager. What else? Bellboy, bell driver, right? So many members of front office. Even in some hotels, reservation agent are part of the front office department. But this time, the experience happened to a bellboy. Not really to him, but related to him. So, there's a guest that just checked in to that hotel in Yogyakarta that suddenly called the front office and said he want to check out, and he asked for a luggage down. So the bellboy came to his room and picked him up because he was curious, like, what happened? Why you want to check out now when you just checked in hours ago, like not so long ago? And the guest said, yeah, I was trying to sleep, but then I heard a knock on my door. I thought it was the hotel staff. So I see from the peeping hole, and there's a lady with the long hair humming and combing her hair. Wait. The first one, there's a guest. So a lady with the long hair, and this one is another guest, a man. So a lady combing her hair too. Do you think it's a same lady? Do you think it happened at the same hotel? And there's the ghost that like to disturb or annoy the guests like that. But why combing? Why not just when the guests see from the peeping hole, or when the guests open their window curtains, you just boom and go? I mean, it's less scary, right? If she did like that, this lady. Do you think it? Okay, let me know. How do you think? Do you think it's the same ghost at the same hotel, or it's a definitely different location, hotel and ghost? Let me know. So guys, that's it. The Hotelier's horror story for today. Well, actually, there are so many stories from the hoteliers, and it's not always the horror stories. There are also the funny stories, sad stories, or drama that happen in the hotel, right? If you're hoteliers, you can relate this. So guys, if you also have your own stories, don't hesitate to send us DM on Instagram, and we will like to make this kind of podcast again. And yeah, we can also mention you there. So see you on the next podcast. Hope you have a good time and a good day. I hope this pandemic will over soon, so yeah, hotelier's life can back to normal. I think this kind of pandemic is more scary than ghostly stories, right? So that's it. See you next time. Bye.